My grandpa exclaimed in surprise. Buddy, why did you take a taxi? What happened to the BMW we gave you for your 21st birthday? Before I could respond, my mom smiled and said, That car is with his sister now. My grandpa paused for a moment, deep in thought, and what he did next made me truly proud of him. Hey, Reddit. My grandpa's house always had the same scent, cedar, coffee, and whatever classic aftershave he'd used since before I was born. Just stepping inside felt like entering a safe haven, a place where someone genuinely noticed me. He had asked me to come over after work, saying he missed me and wanted to talk. So I arrived in a taxi, the driver humming to an old rock station, and climbed out onto the familiar gravel driveway. As soon as I entered, Grandpa's voice rang out from the kitchen. Buddy, there you are. I smiled, despite all that was going on in my life. Seeing him always felt like finally being able to breathe after holding my breath for too long. He approached me with his lopsided grin, wiping his hands on a dish towel. But then he paused mid-step. His smile faded and his brows furrowed. Buddy, he said again, slower this time, why did you take a taxi? I swallowed hard. He glanced past me, looking out the window toward the driveway where something specific used to sit. What happened to the BMW we gave you for your 21st birthday? The words hit me like a punch to the gut. I looked down at my shoes, and my throat tightened before I could respond. Before I could decide whether to tell the truth or soften it, my mom breezed into the doorway like she owned the place. Oh, Dad, don't worry about that, she said, wearing the polite smile she always used when hiding something unpleasant. That car is with his sister now. I glanced up sharply. Mom, I murmured, please don't. But she continued, oblivious to the look of shock spreading across Grandpa's face. He wasn't using it anyway, she added. And you know how much Sarah needs something dependable. Dependable? I almost laughed. Sarah had wrecked 2 cars before she turned 25. Insurance companies practically shuddered when they saw her name. But none of that mattered to my mother, my father, or Sarah herself. In their world, my possessions were optional, available for sharing, not mine. Grandpa slowly turned his head toward me. His eyes were different now, older, sharper. Buddy, he said quietly, is that true? I swallowed hard. I opened my mouth, but Mom interrupted, waving her hand dismissively. Oh, don't start. You're making too much of this. It's just a car. Just a car. Just a gift from my grandfather. Just the last thing I had that felt like freedom. Just another thing taken from me, because my sister needed it. Grandpa was silent for a long moment. He looked at my mother, then at me. He walked slowly to the table and sat down, his hands folded tightly together. Mom laughed lightly, but it was too forced. Dad, come on. Don't act like this is some tragedy. It made more sense for Sarah to have it. He still has his old Toyota. He doesn't have a Toyota anymore, I said quietly. They both turned to look at me. Mom scoffed. What do you mean he doesn't have it? You gave that one to Sarah, too? I said last year after she hit the mailbox with hers. Oh, please, Mom snapped. That thing was falling apart anyway. It ran, I whispered, and it was mine. Grandpa's eyes sharpened further. Son, he said slowly, were you driving? I hesitated. Mom answered for me. Well, taxis, I guess, or rideshare. He doesn't really need a car right now. Grandpa said firmly, he needs a car. His tone sliced through the air. I looked at Grandpa, shame burning in my cheeks. I don't have a car, I admitted. I haven't for months. He stared at me intently. Did your sister pay you back? No. Did your parents? No. My mother stepped in front of me like a barrier, her smile suddenly brittle. Oh, Dad, don't make this a big deal. We're family. We share things. He's not even married. He doesn't need one. Grandpa stood slowly, deliberately, and the room fell silent. He looked at my mother, not with anger, but with a deep disappointment that felt like the ground shifting beneath us. Why? He asked quietly. Did you take a gift I gave my grandson and give it away without asking either of us? Mom blinked. Dad, we didn't take anything. We just let Sarah borrow it. How long has she been borrowing it? Grandpa interrupted. Mom's mouth open and closed, unable to answer. Dad, she needs it. She's been struggling. And he's fine. He always manages. Always manages? Always survives? Always disappears to make room for my sister? Grandpa shook his head slowly, as if looking at a stranger. Your son, he said, should not have to manage alone while his sister floats through life on other people's sacrifices. Mom bristled. Don't lecture me on parenting. I'm not, Grandpa replied. I'm lecturing you on decency. Dad finally entered the room, rubbing the back of his neck. It's not a big deal, he muttered. He could have said no. I did say no, I said quietly. You just didn't listen. Grandpa took a slow breath. Then he asked something I didn't expect. Buddy, I'm going to ask you something, and I want the truth. I nodded. Has this happened before? My throat tightened. I nodded many times. Mom's face flushed deep red with anger instead of shame. Oh, for God's sake, she snapped. Stop acting like we abused him. We're family. Families help one another. We raised him. He owes us. Grandpa slammed his hand on the table. He owes you nothing. My mother went still. Dad looked at the floor. My heart raced. Grandpa's voice lowered to a calm, lethal tone. You gave away what wasn't yours, he said, and you didn't even bother to ask. Mom stammered, Dad, But Grandpa held up a hand. Then he turned to me and looked me straight in the eye. What he did next, what he said next, made me truly proud to be his grandson. Grandpa's eyes never left mine. For a moment, the world narrowed to the space between us. The worn with the table, the steam rising from my untouched coffee, the slow ticking of his old clock on the mantel. Then he smiled. Not the easy smile he used when he was happy about a fishing trip or a pie well-baked, but a small, firm smile that meant something had shifted. Buddy, he said, sit down. I sat. My mom's mouth hung open, stunned. My dad's face had turned a strange pale. Grandpa reached into his pocket and placed a small envelope in front of me. My name was on it, written in his steady, looping handwriting. This is yours, he said. You earned the right to it a long time ago. I intended it to be there the day you turned 21. I didn't want it taken, traded, or borrowed without your say. I told him it was for you. He looked at my mother with something that could have been kindness or steel. I didn't think I'd have to remind any of you what for means. Mom's voice came out then. Dad, we didn't. We thought you. What? Grandpa asked. That the word gift meant open for public consumption? That when you see someone give, the giver has no opinion on who holds what? She flushed, unable to respond. Grandpa folded his hands. Listen, I made a mistake once. I assumed that family naturally protects each other's futures, not devours them. I was wrong, so I'm fixing it. My heart thudded in my chest like a drum. He turned to my parents specifically. You will make it right. Dad sputtered. How? We don't have the money. Grandpa's jaw tightened. Yes, you do. You will liquidate assets. You will return what belongs to him. If you cannot do it immediately, we'll set a schedule. His voice was quiet and utterly serious, and he added, I will oversee it. Mom's face crumpled in that strange way people who are used to giving orders do when someone finally shows them a mirror. But what about Sarah? She needs. Grandpa's eyes flicked once at my sister, who had sunk into her seat like a child in timeout. Your needs do not justify stealing another's future. The waiter hovered awkwardly, as if he had walked into a scene from a movie. No one wanted to call the police. No one wanted to involve lawyers. No one wanted a public scandal. But Grandpa was already moving past all that fuss like he had planned for it. First, he said, we document everything. Receipts, bank transfers, mortgage papers, everything. The accounting will be transparent. Second, you will sign an agreement to restore the resources taken from him, either from your savings, a house, or whatever you can manage. Third, you will make a formal apology, and it will be written, witnessed, and filed. My sister began to protest, her voice high and frantic. But I already use that money. I can't. You can work, Grandpa said. You can pay it back. You can make amends. You can stop treating family like a buffet. Those are your options. I felt a mix of pride and sorrow. Pride that someone in our family had finally named the right thing. Sorrow that it took a theft to get us here. Then Grandpa did something unexpected. He called the bank. Speaking like a man who had handled state law over coffee for 50 years, he was calm, precise, and unstoppable. 2 phone calls later, he handed his handset to the family's lawyer he had summoned to the table. Papers were requested, formal letters drafted. The restaurant's music resumed. Like ocean surf surrounding us, the soundtrack of other people's ordinary lives. When the lawyer read aloud the initial findings, it was worse than any of us had thought. Records showed not one small withdrawal, but a pattern. Small loans, cash advances, payments disguised as emergencies that had whittled the fund away over the years. It was a slow robbery disguised as help. My mother cried. My father's face turned ashen. My sister wrapped her arms around herself. You wanted to raise a family, right? Grandpa said, not unkindly, start now. Let the paperwork be the hard, clear thing to do. Let the numbers convert into accountability. Let this hurt become a lesson. He fixed me with his kind old eyes. And you, buddy, will get your car back. You'll receive what you were promised. I'll make sure of it. I swallowed, my voice stuck in my throat. Grandpa, you don't need to. He cut me off quickly. Not really. I want this to mean more than just a check. I want them to learn respect. The restitution is for that. Over the next week, the family imploded in a polite manner. There were quiet meetings with accountants, whispered phone calls outside the house, and frantic sorting of documents. My father tried to stall. We'll take out a loan. Then he offered a plan, but Grandpa's eyes sliced through every excuse, revealing his pockets were maddeningly empty of moral cover. One day, my sister showed up at my workplace carrying an envelope, her chin trembling. I'm selling my car, she said. I'm getting a job. I know I hurt you. She handed me the envelope with shaking hands. Inside were receipts, a list of items she planned to sell, and a repayment plan. It wasn't full restitution. Far from it. But it was a first step, a word finally attached to action. Grandpa watched, and when my sister left, he took my hand. You see, he said, family should be a place where we don't have to police each other, but sometimes we must. Today you taught them boundaries. Tomorrow, maybe they'll learn respect. I looked at him, at the small stack of papers on the table, at my mother's hollowed face and my father's hands. Then I glanced at the envelope on the table. Grandpa had put a key inside it earlier. Quietly and deliberately. It's an old BMW, he said. She'll have to treat it like a gift, not a rental. She'll learn to be careful. Is it mine? I asked. He nodded. It was always yours. When I left the restaurant that night, the air felt cleaner, as if someone had opened the windows of our family and let out the stale things. I felt lighter, not because of cash or keys, but because someone who loved me had insisted on principle over convenience. My parents were quieter that week. My sister began showing up to work on time. The legal and financial fuss continued. Audits, signed agreements, small payments wired back. It wasn't neat, instantaneous, or entirely healed, but it was honest. And for the first time in a long while, I slept without the ache of something stolen gnawing inside.